Happy New Year, everyone. Uh, this today, it's the new year. It's 2024. My goodness. So I'm so excited to be here, but also excited for the new year. Um, I wanted to start off this series by saying Happy New Year. My passion for my listeners is to help them become who they were always meant to be. I have a long history of assisting people, and I am not going to talk about that today in my profession, but I know that at some point I would like to kind of discuss my history and the things that I've been exposed to and what I've trained in for years. I will discuss that in another podcast. But it has always been my passion to help people, and part of helping people is to help them to become who they were always meant to be. And sometimes um, who we were always meant to be goes back to our environment. So, with this series, Life 101, I'll begin by talking about our environment and how it matters. The people that we come from, our parents, and those that raise us. Those people that raise us, they shape our lives in ways that I can't really express totally through a podcast, but I want to say that they impact our lives in such a profound way that it's only hindsight that we notice it. Um, if you look back over your life and in your family and how you were raised, it is only after you came out of your parents' home or your loved one's home or whoever raised you that you understood the impact. It's almost as though we look in the rearview mirror and understand I am the way that I am because of who raised me or the way that they raised me or both. We don't understand often um, the impact, I believe, until later. I don't want to talk mostly about myself. I just want to give myself as an illustration. I didn't know that it would matter to me until hindsight. The way that I was raised and with the family that I was raised, with six generations. What I mean by that, the impact of having my great grandparents, my great grandfather had died, but my great grandmother, my grandmother, of course, my mother, and my mother's siblings, my grandmother's siblings, and on, how they impacted my life. I did not know until years later when a relative said something to me. They said, "Oh, you do this like so and so," and I thought, "No, I do this like me," not knowing that the impact of me being around them, that I mirrored some of who they are in my own life, not knowing I picked up those ways. And so um, I want to say at the onset, though, that I'm not here to blame parents or loved ones because I know that everybody does not have the experience that I did. I had many years in cases that I've been involved in mental health where it was just a very unfortunate situation with families. And so I don't want to paint a broad brush and say that everybody's experience in their environment was like mine. So I do understand that. So I honor people wherever they are. But I also understand everybody did not come from a grand, wonderful experience. Not saying that all my days were, but they mostly were. And so I do understand that everybody did not have that experience, which leads me to the next thing that I want to say. Uh, Sometimes we don't understand those very same experiences, whether they were with the loved ones that raised us or whether we had to live with someone else, that they mirror who we are today. They mirror our processes and how we respond to other people. Sometimes people that we end up marrying or dating, jobs that we get, those environments that we were raised early in, they made such an impact on us, even today, how we respond to everyday life, what we're interested in. I think about sometimes the things that I'm interested in. It was only because it was introduced to me, things that were introduced to me very early on. It wasn't that I was so interested in being in church or gospel music or things that were spiritual or places that I wanted to visit, being into the military, going to different places and countries. Those things were introduced to me. So I was exposed to them and I liked them. But had they not been introduced to me, I would not know they existed, as it is for your family and the things that were exposed to you in your environment. Um, I don't want to kind of go into too many unfortunate things, but I do want to say if you look at your life and the things that you were exposed to, some of them may have been unpleasant. Not understanding that expose you maybe to not always seeing things in a positive light. It's not a blaming or like this is the reason that I am, like an excuse. I am saying that lends itself to why you may think the way that you do, what you were exposed to, who greeted you in the morning when you woke up, or if anybody greeted you, because I do understand that every family is not like mine. Uh, I grew up, with generations of people. We said good morning in the morning and, we hugged and just all the things that go with that. Um, and I raised my children in that way as well. So they didn't know anything else. Anything else it just wasn't exposed to them. And so I took those ways into the workforce, and I learned very quickly that everybody didn't grow up with a good morning in the morning and, let's go over to have coffee or whatever it was. I had to learn to not I don't want to say temper the way that I was, but I had to understand and be open to how other people were. The military taught me many, many things in that way as well, that everybody's experience was not mine and my experience was not theirs. And because of the way that I am as a person, I wanted to not, I shouldn't say be accepted because that sounds like I'm open to everything and I'm really not. I have like boundaries, probably more boundaries than the next person, but I wanted to befriend a person. And so, in order for me to do that, I had to accept or be understanding that they didn't come from a family that hugged. They didn't come from a family that said good morning, or they didn't share their resources. I grew up around a lot of Arabs and Asians, and I was grateful for that experience. And so my friendships are in that way as well, very multicultural. The cultures are very different in how they do things, and I really appreciate that because I learned so many things, but their environment was different than mine. I had to be open to that. That some of my Asian friends, not all of them, but most of them do not hug when I see them. They don't hug. They don't do all that hugging, Sonetta. So I had to learn it wasn't that they weren't friendly, it wasn't that they were not kind, it's just in their culture, some of those things were not done, maybe a little bit more now than when I, grew up with some of them. But I'm saying I have to remember that everybody's experience, their environment is going to be different. So if you look at your experience, your environment, and how that showed you some things, not necessarily told you, because often we remember more what people show us than what they tell us. I don't remember a lot of things that my great grandmother said to me, but I remember so many things that she showed me. If you think about your environment, how you grew up, were you around people that hugged? Were you around people um, that showed different expressions, their love language? Was it their love language was just working, or were their love language showing you in other ways with hugs, works? Sometimes it depends on what our love language is. And some of us, we grew up in households or families, they don't even know what a love language is. They didn't have those things exposed to them. And so I wanted to say in this first series of Life 101, think about your environment and the people that raised you. So often we think about it later and we recognize some things were a blessing to us, that it was a gift. And then there were those things that were a burden to us. They weigh us down. They make us feel less. They make us feel unhappy. And so it is those things that I want to kind of move us into. If you recognize there's certain things, in your environment that were not good for you, they may have worked for your parents or your grandparents, but to not be hugged, to not embrace someone or to not show someone that you're a team, that you work together, that you don't do things independently, that has become a burden for you, then that is the very thing you want to make sure that you work on. And I don't want to get into the new year resolutions and things like that, but every day that I wake up, I know that there's something that I need to work on or to amend or work better for me. And that is what I want this series to be about. Making sure that every day you wake up, whatever that thing is, whether that is adjusting your attitude because you're tired. You work a lot and you're just tired. Maybe you can leave work early one day or do some things to make sure that you don't have to work an extra day. Or maybe talking to your spouse if you're married, or just trying to see what can you do to decrease your stress so you don't feel the burden of whatever you're going through at the time. That's really what all that I'm getting to. And it takes time to get to that place. So things that I'm saying to you, I've practiced for years. Some things I'm still learning. And what I did not know, I don't know how the age of my listeners, um, but in the things that I practice in my everyday life, I attract all kinds of people. Late teenagers, people that are 18, 19, all the way up into their 60s and 70s. And so that is the broad range of my audience, and even multicultural. It is people from different cultures. And so I want to say that the older that I've gotten, it's certain things that work for me in my 20s, they don't work now. It just doesn't work. It's just I'm a different person. My experiences are different. So I say that same thing to you. What worked for you last year may not work this year. You may just understand that you don't have the capacity to do certain things. It's not that you're mean, it's not that you're being abrupt. It no longer works for you. What worked last year or even last month, as we age, it is certain things that simply do not work any longer. You're no longer even that same person. Nonsense, um, chatter, in other words, things that don't amount up to anything, you just can't do it. You don't even want to do it. And it's because you're no longer that person. So recognizing your environment plays a great part in that. You're recognizing who you're becoming. I say that becoming, because you're constantly changing. And so give yourself that grace to change. Give yourself the grace to say, you know what? I don't like this anymore. It's not that you're being abrupt or any of those things. You're no longer that person. You've outgrown that space. And so, as we navigate into life 101, recognizing that our environment plays a huge part, who we come from, who modeled things in front of us, it plays a huge part in who we will become as we age. And so, I just want to make sure I don't want to. Talk too long. In each podcast, you'll notice I talk sometimes 10, 15 minutes, but it's because I want us to be able to have bite sizes to chew off of. I want us to be able to grab whatever tool we can for that day. That is my main mission, to make sure with every podcast, every listener, they're able to grab whatever nugget they need for that day. So, whatever you can grab for today, I want you to be able to do that. Look at your environment. See whatever has worked for you and what no longer works for you, and then implement that. And until next time, you all have a great day. Thanks. Bye.